Welcome to this talk about the distribution model. I'm Ermin Karatzopoulos and I will be presenting you this talk. So take a moment to scan the QR code here. You will be able to ask some questions at the end. Okay, so today we'll explore the centralized distribution model, a strategy that companies use to streamline their supply chain and improve efficiency. So today we'll look at the centralized distribution, what it is, how it works, the benefits, and the challenges of this model, and we'll dive into 3 replenishment strategies within this model as well. So what is the centralized distribution model? So basically, it's a model where the vendors are going to resupply a central warehouse, also called a distribution center. The central warehouse holds a bulk inventory and basically replenishes the different shops. So understanding this model is interesting for retailers because it affects how companies reduce costs, maintain inventory control, and also ensure timely delivery to customers. So why go for this model? So we have a few advantages, a few challenges that we will discuss, of course not all, but a few advantages is that the fact that we can control the inventory and we have a good visibility, as it's easier to do this just in one location, and it's easier to plan as well the replenishment and avoid overstocks in the different locations. You will also benefit of economies of scale. So basically by doing bulk purchases, you can reduce some delivery costs, and you can also use more efficiently automation and labor within the warehouse. You will also have some flexibility of allocation, so the stock can be redistributed depending on the demand of the shops, and it's easier to shift the demand to respond if the demand actually is shifting. So a few challenges, of course, if we have a few disruptions in the central warehouse, if we face issues, then you could impact the whole chain as well. So this is indeed a challenge. So if the local shop is actually more far away, so the lead times can indeed be a bit longer impacted for the central warehouse to replenish the shop that is far away. So let's discuss the 3 replenishment strategies within that model that we can actually use with Odoo as well. So we have the first one, the make to stock. So this is basically where the central warehouse is going to proactively send stock to the shops without waiting for a request. Okay, so this is a forecasted based model. It's the seasonal allocation. Think of the new collections in the different shops. So this model is a push strategy. Like I said, the central warehouse is going to push the stock to the shops. And so it ensures the readiness, basically, of the shops on peak demand. So it's a good model for fast movers. Now, the risk, of course, is that you have some overstock if the forecast is wrong. The second model is the min-max replenishment. So this is a demand-driven model. It's a pull strategy. So here, basically, the shops are going to ask the central warehouse to replenish them based on some reordering points or min and max thresholds. Okay, so the central warehouse will ship the stock in order to meet the target stock levels. So the advantage here is that we balance the stock to the actual consumption rate. Okay, of course you can have some stockouts if the lead times are not well thought of, if they're long, and if the min and max, of course, is not correct. So here again, it's a good example for fast-moving consumer goods. Then we have the make-to-order model. So this is really a non-demand replenishment. It's customer based on the customer demand, where we will ask for the resupply to the central warehouse that will indeed send the stock to, again, meet the target stock levels. So here the advantage is that you will not have excess stock, especially for goods that are slow movers. But of course here the client could wait a bit longer, depending on the lead times as well. This is a perfect replenishment strategy for highly customizable goods or very specialized equipment, very expensive equipment as well, for which you don't necessarily want to have some stock. So let's get into how Odoo handle this. So let's go ahead in the database. So we'll explore first actually the make to stock model. Okay, so the one where the central warehouse is going to push the stock to the shops. Just to show you a bit how I have set up this database, so I have my warehouses. So here you can see I have my central warehouse, I have my shop in Brussels and my shop in Antwerp. Those are the shops. On the central warehouse, what you can see is that the central warehouse is going to buy to resupply. But if I go on my central warehouse in Brussels here, you will see that we will resupply from the central warehouse. Okay, we'll dive a bit deeper into that later. Now, what is interesting as well to mention is that I have an operation type, a special one, that has been done at the level of the central warehouse, which is really to transfer the stock to the shops. So this is a delivery type of operation, as you can see here at the top. The storage location is, of course, the stock of the central warehouse, and the destination location is customers. You will understand why after the first flow. So let's go ahead for our push flow. So this is the forecast-based model. So here the central warehouse is going to order a few products. Now let's just see our stock levels. So the first product here will be used for the first flow. You can see we don't have any stock here. So basically what I'm going to do at the central warehouse, we're going to create a purchase order. Okay, so here you can see the reception is going to happen in that central warehouse. I'm going to just select my supplier. I'm going to select my product, and let's say that we're going to order 10 items. I'm going to confirm, and of course, immediately when the purchase order is confirmed, you will have an associated reception. Okay, so you can see that right now I still have no stock in my central warehouse, but we are expecting 10 to come as we have a purchase order that has been confirmed for that. So let's go ahead and validate the demand. So I will just validate the 10 that I order. And now, of course, you can see that if I go back on my product, you will see that the central warehouse holds 10 items in stock. Now, the next step would be to redispatch that stock to the shops in question. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to my inventory overview, and here you can see that I have my central warehouse with the transfer stock to shops operation, and I have my receipts as well in Brussels and Antwerp. Here you can see we have none that are open at that time. So I'm just going to create one, and here I'm going to add my delivery. I'm going to add the Brussels shop. And as soon as you add the contact here, you will see that the right destination location is added automatically, which is pretty interesting. I will show you just after how to do that. I have created sub-location for each shop, so we know exactly where the goods transit and also where we should send the goods. So this is from the point of view of the central warehouse, but also the shop in Brussels will be able to see the goods that are transiting basically to their shop this way. So let's say that from the 10 items that I order, I'm going to send, let's say, 4 in Brussels. I'm just going to mark that as to do. I'm going to create a second delivery, this time for my shop in Antwerp. And here you can see the sublocation is directly rightly added as well. And let's send 6 to the shop in Antwerp. Like I said, here it's the central warehouse that sends the goods to the different shops. Of course, as soon as I haven't confirmed my transfer yet. So if we go on the forecast, you can see we still have 10 in the central warehouse. We have none in Brussels and none in Antwerp as well. So right now, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to mass validate my different transfers so they can actually transit in the different locations. Now, let's go ahead and take a look. So I'm going to go again, just a second, on my product. So the product was that one. What you can see now is that indeed in the central warehouse, the stock has left the central warehouse. But if I go on my shop in Brussels, we are expecting 4 to come. And of course, in Antwerp, it's the same as well. If I go to update my quantity, what you can see if I just remove the internal location filter is that we have indeed 4 items in transit for Brussels and 6 for Antwerp. Okay. Good, so now that I have validated my 2 transfers, what you will be able to see is that we have a receipt that is automatically created in Brussels and one in Antwerp with, of course, the right quantities to receive. So you can see the destination location here, for instance, is the shop in Brussels. Now I'm going to validate that, and as soon as I validate the reception, of course, if I now go on my stock of the shop of Brussels, I will see 4 quantities on hand. The same will be done with Antwerp. And again, here we have the stock in Antwerp. It's the same logic. Now, how did I manage to do that? So if we go into our routes, I have created a push route here that you can see. I'm going to open it. And basically here, I'm saying that I'm pushing the stock within the shop of Brussels or the shop of Antwerp. So we can actually see here, let's take the one of Brussels. We see the action, it's push. And it's going to create a reception as soon as we have stock in this transit location. Okay, so if you push the stock in this location, it's going to create the reception like we saw. So this is the first thing. Of course, I also told you that I created a specific location. So if I remove the filter because it's a transit location, you will see I have the two sub-locations here, Antwerp and Brussels, that I have created. Maybe let me show you the one in Brussels. So it's just a sub-location of this inter-warehouse transit location. If I go on the context, so you saw that I had the shop of Brussels and Antwerp. You will see here that in the sales and purchase tab, I have added as a customer location the inter-warehouse transit. So when I select this shop to deliver, it will automatically add this customer location, which is pretty nice to use. So that was it for the first flow. That was the push flow that we saw. So let's move to the min-max replenishment. So this is the demand driven flow where the shop actually requests some items from the central warehouse. So here we're going to use our second product. So let me show you here. We have a bit of stock. So if I click on the stock, you will see we have 5 items in Brussels. We have 20 in the central warehouse. Of course, if the central warehouse does not have stock and the demand comes from the shop, he can resupply with his buy route from the vendor. Now, let's go ahead and I'm going to show you actually that I have a reordering rule that has been set up for that product. And you can see that the reordering rule has been created for the Brussels shop. And we also have 5 quantities on hand. And we have a specific route that I'm going to explain just after this flow that asks to resupply basically from the central warehouse. We have a minimum of 2 items and a maximum of 5 on the rule. You can right now see that we don't need to reorder any item. So why is that? Because the on-hand quantity and the forecasted quantity, it's especially the forecasted that is important here, hasn't reached the minimum level of the reordering rule. Okay, so as soon as this minimum is hit, we're going to have a demand for replenishment. So, like I told you, we actually replenish based on the sales that we have within the shop. So let's go ahead and create a sale for a customer for that product, and we're going to order a few items that we don't have in stock today. So let's go for 7 actually. You can see here that is the warehouse shop Brussels. So the demand is going to originate from here. So I'm going to trigger to confirm it the sales order, which is going to trigger the procurement need for that product. And let's go back on the product in question. Now what you can see is that we have reached the minimum of 2 because right now the forecast is 5. So why is the forecast 5? If I go here on my forecasted quantity, what you can see in the shop of Brussels is that we have 5 on hand, but we have 7 items that we actually need for sales order 15 that you can actually see here. So we have -7 outgoing because we have a reservation, a procurement need for that sales order. So the forecast here is -2, which brings our minimum under the threshold, which the system is going to propose to you to order 7. Why? Because we're going to order the forecast up to the maximum, okay? So the forecast is -2 and our maximum is 5, so we order 7. So here it's very simple. I can just click on the order button and we have a transfer that is going to be created. So let me show you that. If I go to my inventory dashboard, you will see that we have now 1 transfer basically here for our shop in Brussels for the 7 demanded quantities, okay? On the other hand, I also have a reception that has been created for Brussels. Let me take another view. It will be much clearer for you. I'm going to go to the receipt, and here you can see we have the delivery for the sales order 15 that we have created. This is the procurement need, the delivery to the client. You can also see that we have here the delivery from the central warehouse to the shop in Brussels. You can see here the destination location and finally the reception as well, which is waiting as we wait for the goods to be shipped from the central warehouse. So here the central warehouse is going to ship the different quantities. You can see also that we have a next transfer. So if I click on that, you will see that the next transfer is indeed the reception of the shop Brussels. Let's validate the transfer here. So the stock leaves our central warehouse or in the inter-warehouse transit location like I showed you just previously. And so the next move would be now to validate the reception in Brussels. You see that the status is now ready because we know that the shipment was done in the central warehouse. It's a chain, okay? So let's go ahead and receive the products in Brussels as well. And here what you can see is that we have a nice pop-up that comes up to say that the products can be allocated for the sales order 15, so we can actually assign those to that order. And let's go back, and finally we have the final delivery to the client to validate when he comes to pick up his products. Let's go ahead and just do that. And here the flow has been completed thanks to our resupply route. So how did I manage to do that? On the warehouse of Brussels, you can see that we have the resupply here from the central warehouse, which is going to basically create a route, okay? So you can see here we have the route shop Brussels resupplies from central warehouse. So here it's a pull strategy. So we're going to ask to replenish based on the stock that we have in Brussels, okay? So here you can see we have a pull. The operation type is a reception, the source location, the inter-warehouse transit in Brussels, and finally the final destination is the stock of Brussels. And of course, on the other hand, we have the delivery from the central warehouse that moves the stock to this inter-warehouse transit in Brussels. So that's how I managed to do that. And like I explained to you as well, on the product itself and on the reordering rule, we added the route here, which is going to be triggered. And finally, we had the allocation report that allows you to assign the items for a specific order. If you go into the settings, you will see here the reception report. And on the operation type, so this time the operation type of the shop of Brussels, you can say for the receptions, I would like to show this report at validation. Okay, so let's move on to our last flow. So this is the make to order flow. So it's based on the customer demand. So we do not have any items in stock. So I'm just going to go to the product here. And you will see that we don't have any stock neither in the central warehouse nor in the shop in Brussels. Okay, so we are going to reorder based on the customer demand. So I'm going to create a sales order here with that third product. And I'm going to confirm that. Now, as soon as I confirm, what you can see on the sales order, this is very interesting, is that we have a purchase order here for a reception at the central warehouse, as the central warehouse also didn't have the product in stock. Next to that, we have our reordering resupply route that has been triggered. So here we have the different flow. Let me group by operation type. It will be easier for you to follow. We have, of course, the delivery order in the shop of Brussels, the reception, and finally the transfer from the central warehouse. So here you have a full traceability basically on the SO, where you can see also the item that the central warehouse needs to purchase, and you can actually see the status as well and see where the products are or what is the next step basically. So here we have the purchase order at the level of the central warehouse. I'm going to confirm this order, which is going to trigger a receipt that we can of course validate. And here you will see that we have indeed the product now in the central warehouse, so we can actually resupply the shops. Let's go back on our sales order. Now you will see that our delivery to the shop of Brussels is now in the ready stage. Okay, the other ones are waiting for another operation as this is a chain reaction. So here let's validate our transfer or delivery to the shop. The product is now in the inter-warehouse transit location, and we will be able now to basically validate the reception here of Brussels. Okay. Let's go ahead and validate. I'm just going to add the quantity here, 1. I'm going to validate, and finally, you have the product for the delivery to the customer. So that was it for this flow. How did I do that? So on my product, I have activated 2 routes. Okay, so I have the inventory here tab. I have my buy route here for my central warehouse, and I have my MTO route, so replenish on order, which is going to trigger just after the routes in Brussels. The next one that applies, the next one that applies is the one to resupply from the central warehouse. So indeed, let's go here. You can see we have our reorder on replenish on order, the MTO. And basically here, it's a pull strategy. It's going to create indeed a delivery for Brussels, but it's going to trigger another rule. So the other rule basically is the next one that applies for Brussels, which is here the resupply route that we just saw in the second flow. And to activate the MTO, you just need to go to the settings, and here you have the replenish on MTO. Good, so that was it for that last flow. If you want to look at other interesting talks to follow that are still going to be held today, you can go to the one with e-commerce meets logistics at 2 o'clock in Auditorium 2000. The supply chain audit in Auditorium 5000, and demystifying the routes actually tomorrow at 2 in Auditorium 2000 as well. If you have some questions, please fill the pad so we can discuss them in a second.
Can you please explain us again quickly how does the reordering rules get triggered in Odoo?
Okay. So let's go back into the database. So like I explained to you, you have to, if you want to have a min and max, you need to add this, of course, in the system. So basically here I have a minimum of 2, a maximum of 5, and today you can see we don't have any quantities to reorder. Why? Because today the on-hand quantity, actually the forecasted quantity, this is the important one, is not below the minimum, okay? So what is the forecasted quantity? Actually, here you can see that for each warehouse, we have the on-hand quantity, so that's a physical stock that you have today, but maybe some quantities of this physical stock have been reserved for other, for some orders. So this is the outgoing stock that you will see. And then you have the incoming. This is everything that is going to come in based on the purchase orders that you have created. So if I go ahead and I trigger again a sales order here for that product, let's say, so I had 5 and I need to reach the minimum of under 2. I'm going to confirm those 4 quantities. If I go back on the product, you will see here that basically for the shop in Brussels, we have 5 on hand, we have -4 that are outgoing, so the forecasted is 1. So if I go back on my reordering rule, you are going to see that we have 4 to reorder. Why? Because we have 1 forecasted and we have to have maximum 5, so it's going to hit the max.
Maybe with the quantities, what happens if like some quantities got stolen or lost during transfer? Is it possible to adapt it in Odoo and to flag it that it's been stolen?
Yes, if so basically what you will be able to do is to do a scrap on the transfer. Now it will not be adapted on the whole chain. You will need to open the transfer, but you had the button like next transfer. So basically you need to adapt the quantities on the next one. And indeed, see if you do a back order or something like that, but then you need to create that.
Is it possible to place an order of 10 units with my supplier, for example, and then transfer 6 to one location and 4 to another one?
It is absolutely possible to do that. So that's the first flow that I showed. I ordered 10 quantities basically at the supplier, and then the central warehouse is going to decide where am I going to redispatch the different quantities, okay? So just to remind you what I did, I went to my inventory overview. I had created a special operation type here that you can just click on new. And basically here you just select the shop in question, you add the product that you would like to send, and you add the demand that you would like to transfer to the shops.
Is there a way to automate the push rule when you make a purchase order for like X amount of the total order quantities get automatically pushed to a certain location?
Not to my knowledge, but maybe you can discuss that with the inventory experts and see if there's a solution for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.